Good morning. Welcome everybody to Blue Smoke and Black Ink. I'm not sure which speaker is on the screen, but let me tell the audience that what I like in a writer is somebody who, one, is funny, two, is smart, and three, is caring. Somebody cares. I also like these qualities in my friends and in my elected officials. And we hit the trifecta today because we've got a guy who's not all three of those things, but he's also a pal, an elected official, and what was the third thing? Oh, and a great writer. We'll go through some of his books and things. Let me get him on the screen here. Hi, Baruti. How you doing?
Good, Jim. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm going to turn my sound up a little bit. Yeah, that's good enough. Um, let's start with your writing. Oh, wait, I want to show you my t-shirt first. Do you remember this? All right. Yes, I was your first sign captain. And I showed you this shirt a few weeks ago, and here's what you responded to me just to show the audience what kind of a wit you have. It says, "What a great shirt. It makes me remember the sign runs, rain pelting the truck, snipers in the trees above Williston, me yelling, 'It's too much. We have to turn back.' And you just chomping on your cigar and hitting the gas." I love that. Love that. So how you been?
I've been good. That election, it's like October, and everybody was saying I was going to lose because there was this powerhouse Republican moderate named Charlie Smith who was going to steamroll me. And it was really was cold and rainy. And, you and me and maybe two other people were the only ones who still believed in it. So thanks again for that.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. And what a great beginning to your political career. We'll get onto your politics in a while. Let's talk about your books for a while though, because this podcast is basically writer oriented. Tell us about this, the Brothers Boswell. What's that?
Brothers on the famous friendship between Samuel Johnson and James Boswell. And Boswell wrote the Life of Johnson, which forever was considered the greatest biography of all time. And so what I did was sit down to try to write a book about that friendship. And I found that I just knew it too well to really have any fun inventing around it. So I remembered that James Boswell had a crazy brother who was in the madhouse when he was hanging around with Johnson. And so I brought the crazy brother in and had him stalk them around London, crazy with jealousy because they had become such good friends. And John also, in his imagination, believes that he has his own relationship with Samuel Johnson, and so it gets pretty homicidal and crazy toward the end.
It's an amazing book. I remember it being impressed by a lot of things. One was, I don't know what's it called, Middle English or Old English? What did those guys write in?
1960 is pretty much modern English, but it's archaic sounding to us.
Yeah, and you kept that voice through the whole 300 pages, which was amazing. Wow, that must have taken some skill and some concentration, didn't it?
I wrote my undergraduate thesis and then my dissertation on Boswell, and he has these 15 volumes of autobiography that I reread and reread and reread. So I know that voice pretty well.
Yeah, yeah, and you handle it beautifully. Let me read you the inscription. I went to one of the readings, and you wrote to me on my copy of the book to John to Don Jimmy, which is what we call. We'll explain all of that mafia stuff later. A master word craftsman himself, and a guy who can always count on to show up, even when you feel that you're liked and you're not well liked. That's another thing I love about you, Baruti. We both love quoting Willie Loman. That's
Yeah.
obviously from a Willie Loman. I don't know if you remember, but the first time we met, you were, I think, hawking this book. We were at a League of Vermont Writers meeting, and you were the speaker. And you said you'd go home that night and you'd say, "How'd I do in Middlebury? Oh, I killed them in Middlebury. They love me in Middlebury." And I said, "This guy's great." So
Yeah.
we've been pals ever since. All right, I don't know how to get into the politics yet, but what the heck is this? The ex-president. This isn't what I'm thinking it is. What's that one all about?
Yeah, that's about Bill Clinton and time travel. So to sum it up as quickly as possible, World War III has broken out, and it's broken out over the fact that the United States gets sued for all the damages that we've caused the rest of the world with our cigarettes. R.J. Reynolds and exporting death around the world. So they finally get their act together, the rest of the world, and sue us, and we get this massive judgment against us. U.S. refuses to pay. We go to war against the rest of the world, and the only way we're going to not be destroyed in that war is a Hail Mary, which is they send a secret team back in time to try to convince Bill Clinton in 1995 not to sign the document that kicks off this sale of tobacco around the world. So it's about the young Bill Clinton when he's 16. It's about President Bill Clinton in the 90s. And then it has Bill Clinton at 109 years old when he's got a titanium exoskeleton and he's had his arthritic hands rebuilt. So it's just a lot of fun if you like knocking on Bill Clinton, kind of.
It's an amazing imagination you have there. Just to get political for 1 minute, I once heard a speech that said, once the Soviet Union collapsed in the 1990s, Clinton had a perfect opportunity to withdraw all of that finance our defense money and to build our bridges and our infrastructure and our health system. And instead of looking inward like that, he looked outward and said, "Oh, now's the time to spread democracy to the rest of the world," and kind of screwed up that magic moment. You have any thoughts on that?
Well, and that's right where the geopolitics of the book begin, is that expansion of NATO during Clinton's presidency toward the Soviet Union. And, that's a sore point for Vladimir Putin even today. So when he's going to war in Ukraine, he says it's because of the expansion of NATO. Obviously, I think it's his, desire to conquer whatever he can conquer. But he blamed Bill Clinton and NATO for a long time.
Wow, that's amazing. Things stay the same and things change. There's two other books I have. We won't have time to get into both of them, but one is a real old one, The Dream of the White Village, which has some Winooski connections, and the other is an ancient, The Millennium Shows, which you remember. But I want to talk about one book I didn't have, and then we'll get on to the politics. Didn't you write a biography of Senator Leahy? Tell us about that book.
Yeah, it's called Senator Leahy, and it's the only biography of him. Um, it's amazing how quickly people pass out of the public mind, but Pat Leahy was our senior senator. He was a senator in Washington for 48 years and had a hand in every major thing that went on, especially for the last 30 years, once he became, a senior U.S. senator. But among other things, he had a big hand in the international treaty to ban landmines. He also was responsible in part, for the opening of Cuba under Barack Obama. And you know, there's a really great story right at the end of the book where, in order to open Cuba and agree with the then Castro regime, they had to build trust. And one of the things they did to build trust was they allowed a Cuban woman to be artificially inseminated by a spy we had in prison. And Pat Leahy was the go-between for that artificial insemination approval. And this was all kept secret until the morning when they returned our spy, Alan Grossman, and we returned some of their spies. And then this woman announced that she was pregnant, and in just a couple of months gave birth to this child, which everybody could point to and say, the fruits of the new peace between the U.S. and Cuba. So
Wow.
Pat Leahy was, instrumental in 100,000 different things behind the scenes.
Yeah, it is funny how quickly they fade from notoriety. Leahy
Yeah.
was at the center of things just not so long ago. Let's turn to well, no, before we turn to politics, let's turn to your job that pays the bills. You're a UVM professor, isn't that right, Baruti?
Yeah, I have been for 33 years, which
Wow.
doesn't sound a lot compared to Capotones.
Oh, speaking of capotones, uh, the thought occurs to me. Baruti, and again, we'll explain the Baruti reference later. One of his best pals at the UVM faculty is Tony Magistrali, who's been on this show. But the thought hit me this week that you've been palling around with Magistrali for quite a while. Isn't it something like driving to a golf tournament with Tiger Woods? It's probably going to be great, but there could be catastrophe at any minute. Am I describing that relationship right?
I would say it's half that and half driving to a golf tournament with John Daly. Because Tony and I tend to get in way more trouble together than we do separately. And when we've got the whole gang together, which is you, Tony, Joe Citro, and me, that's really the best, but also the most dangerous.
Let me get a picture here. Show this to the audience. A few times a year, we Paisan try to meet together. That's Tony Magistrali, Philip Baruth, Joe Citro, and myself. Uh,
And
yeah, go ahead.
I'm an honorary Italian
Yeah,
because I grew up in Rome, New York.
yeah, you're very close. And we italicized your last name from Baruth to Baruti. And I forget, did we actually have you kill a guy or you didn't have to do
Yeah, there
that?
was some killing
Okay, great. Let's be a little more serious and a little more up to date. You've recently announced that, oh, well, first of all, you are the president pro temp of the Vermont Senate. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And does that give you the power to invade Iran and wipe out that civilization, or can't you do that?
Only the madman in Washington D.C. can do that.
Oh, okay.
But it does give me some power. But people think that you have the power to tell other senators what to do. Basically, senators are defined by one characteristic, and that is they are mulish, and nobody's going to tell them what to do. So I try to advise people what will go wrong if they don't do what I suggest. And after a couple of times of having that turn out to be true, then they trust me a little bit. So,
Okay, I sure you have trust up there. On the other hand, it's a trust that you're leaving. Tell us seriously why you've decided to retire from the Senate. You're in it now, but at the end of this current session, you're going to leave, and why?
well, I've always had at least 2 or 3 full-time jobs. So I worked as a professor at UVM. I now have a year-round job in the State House as the president pro tem, running not just the Senate but the State House, because the Speaker and I, Speaker of the House and I, run the State House. So it's a lot of work, much more work than I had when I was a rank and file senator. And I've loved it. Best job of my life, bar none. But I'm getting to the age where I think one full-time job will be plenty. So I'm saying I'm retiring from the Senate, and I think people think that means I'm going to be playing golf all day. I'm still going to be writing books and teaching classes and being a full-time UVM professor, but I won't have the extra work in Montpelier.
I see. That sounds fair enough. I'm sure we'll miss you. Tell us what you're most proud of. What are some of your accomplishments in your, what was it, your 8 years in the Senate?
No, 16.
16. Wow. What are you
Yeah,
most proud of?
changes we've made in gun laws in the state. Um, you know, massacres around the country were happening at just a horrific pace, and I got involved back in 2013. I was majority leader in the Senate, and it was strictly forbidden in the state house to attempt to regulate guns in any way. It was truly the third rail. Many people had lost their seats trying to do it, and nobody had really tried for 10 or 15 years. Um, so I introduced, right after Sandy Hook, I introduced a assault weapons ban, and I just got murdered, absolutely murdered. Everybody in the state house ran away from me. Um, I was, like I say, newly elected majority leader. Nobody wanted to be led by the crazy man who was trying to take people's guns away. And
In
so that was
Vermont.
a really bad year or two. But events caught up with everybody. People continued to be massacred around the country. And, eventually the the bill that I had been pushing for universal background checks was signed by the governor on the steps of the State House. Huge crowd, angry gun owners, celebrating gun safety people. But that was probably my most incredible moment, to go from pariah over gun rights to being seen as somebody who actually kind of knew what the hell he was talking about.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, you should be very proud of that. And I'm sure the state is much better off because of your service and because of things like that. As you get back into, let's call it civilian life, do you plan to balance your professorship and teaching your courses with some more writing? Do you have any projects you have in mind?
Yeah, in fact, I have a sabbatical that starts right when I retire from the Senate, so that's January. And what I promised to do in that sabbatical application was write a book about the gun issue in America, what we've done in Vermont, and what remains to be done. So part of it'll be memoir, talking about my time trying to legislate on those areas and how crazy things got. But part of it will also be looking at, why is this happening? What's the most effective way to deal with it? And is it a symptom of a declining empire, which some people believe that, the American experiment is doomed to end because not just our epidemic of gun violence, but the nationalistic violence that I think Donald Trump has been stirring and fomenting and trying to amplify.
Where do you think that's heading, Baruti? Where's this country heading? Where are we going to be 3 years from now?
Well, my hope is that 3 years from now, we have a Democratic administration that campaigns on bringing, normal sanity and stability back to America. And I hope that's successful and we start to head back down that road. But, without putting too fine a point on it, a couple of years ago, I put in a bill to ban paramilitary training camps in Vermont, uh, and that was successful. The governor signed that, and that is law now. But the reason behind that is we had, turns out, 2 or 3 paramilitary training camps. You see this out in Washington as well, and Oregon. So I think worst case scenario is, if you remember under Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, the right wing got very active and very violent. So Timothy McVeigh, and the bombing of the federal building, I don't think that sort of thing is behind us. I think that because those elements have been invited into the public spotlight by Donald Trump, they haven't been attacking the U.S. government. But the minute you have a Democratic face on the administration again, I worry about Proud Boys who have been brought into ICE and given training and weapons. I worry about, like I say, the east and west coast, the northern parts where it seems like in Vermont we've got Slate Ridge, which was a paramilitary training camp that was finally shut down after a couple of very contentious years and threats to neighbors. So I worry about all that stuff, and I'll write about it now instead of legislating.
Boy, that sounds great. That's going to be a magnificent book. Vermont, your home state, my former home state, has such a split personality, doesn't it? It just is.
Yeah.
It's so liberal and it's so gun-toting. It's undefined, like unlike any other state in the union.
And one thing I would say is that I, in my own mind, I've never had any problem whatsoever with people owning guns, hunting, shooting, at targets, um, traditional uses of guns. What I have tried to speak out about is the stockpiling of weapons, which has become a kind of calling card for the far right Republican Party. So if you think about when we have a national election and a primary for Republicans, at every debate for Republican candidates, one of the questions is how many guns do you have? Not do you have guns, but how many do you have? And then they try to one up each other. And whoever says something like 30 or 40 gets the loudest applause. So it's not about personal safety, regardless of what the talking point is. It's really about flirting sort of half consciously with the idea of revolution and overthrowing, the libtards and, the people who want equal treatment for others with brown skin and no money. It's about a dispute over who America belongs to, and to hear Pete Hegseth tell it, or Donald Trump or others in that administration, they're about a half an inch away from just declaring a white nationalist ethno state with people being deported who don't meet that definition.
Wow. Do you think there's any hope for the Republican Party? I know you don't agree with everything that who is it, Phil Scott agrees with, but there are some moderate Republicans. There are some uh, I don't know if you call them saviors of the party. Is there any hope at all for that political party, or have they gone too far?
Yeah, I'm talking about the National Republican Party.
Yeah.
In the state house, my experience with Republicans has been uniformly positive. My best friends, many of them in the state house, are Republicans, and we work together every single day. So, I don't think that virus has taken over the Vermont Republican Party, which I'm glad about. And a big reason for that is Phil Scott, who is a moderate. And in fact, he's as popular as he is. He's the most popular governor in the country. And the reason for that is that 70% of Democrats support him. And so if you're a candidate, Democratic candidate for governor, you are out of luck, because his stance on guns, among other things, has convinced Democrats that he can be trusted, that he's moderate, that he'll find the middle way. And, although I'd prefer a Democratic governor for sure, Phil Scott and I have been unlikely allies on a whole host of bills.
Great. Gee, that's good. That's good to hear. It would really be nice to hear the two parties working together again, like they did maybe what 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Who knows if we'll ever see that. I have no idea where the time is. We had a little trouble connecting, so we've either been talking for 30 minutes or for 10 minutes. I'm not sure which, but either way, I know that Zoom is going to cut me off pretty soon. So I just want to tell you that I will be up in the summer. We will be meeting again. I don't know if we'll get Citro to come this time. But oh, one last thing. Oh, there's your kitty. We always hi. What's your cat's name? Okay. Uh,
Yeah,
Dogs and cats are always interrupting us. Oh, but getting back to a meeting of a sit down, is it true that Tony and you have found a new dining experience, someplace called the Trough? Do I have that
yeah,
right?
yeah. At UVM, there's an all-you-can-eat for about $10 outlet, and it's called the Central Campus Dining Room or something. Tony immediately named it the Trough, and believe me, when you watch him eat there, you understand where the word came from.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, looking forward to. Oh, can I, as a non-faculty member, can you guys sneak me into the Trough?
They're $10. They don't care.
Okay. Well, listen, I'll be looking for you this summer, Baruti. It's always great talking to you. You enjoy yourself.
Uh, you know, anytime you can get up here, that's great. But I'm also going to try to get Tony to drive down. If we could go to Chester and meet in the middle, we could probably get Citro on board.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I think we did that once or twice. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's try doing that. Always great to see you. Enjoy yourself, Baruti, and thank you so much. Oh, let me remind everybody, if you enjoyed this podcast, somewhere there's a button down bottom that says subscribe or like. I've never found it, but if you can find it, go ahead and plunk it. Baruti, thanks a lot for showing up. You enjoy yourself. So long.